email delivers pretty much the highest return on investment every single time with every client I've ever worked with. And that's when you'll start to see the incredibly high return on investment.
You have 100 euro. How would you spend them between better copywriting, better setup for deliverability, and a better commercial offer?
It is it's the chicken and the egg. Email is its own worst enemy. Well,
the halo sending, yeah. What is halo sending strategy?
The halo sending strategy, it's something
Hello and welcome, episode number 11 of the Marketer podcast. Kath Pei with us today. She wrote the book on email marketing called Holistic Email Marketing. Welcome, Kath. Yes, so we can see the book. The pleasure is ours. Thank you for joining us. Kath, let me start with a blunt question. So, did you ever notice any customer having better results from, let's say, PPC activities or SEO activities rather than from email marketing where they're supposed to talk with their ex-customers? So there is a higher affinity to buy.
Right. I don't think it's necessarily a case of either or, right? But it is a case
Definitely.
of what metrics are you measuring? So when you're saying better success, what are we talking about there? Are we talking about more revenue is being driven? Then yes, I would say that often that is the case, but that's only because more revenue or more budget has been allocated to those channels, right? So if you're talking about return on investment, that's a different matter, because then we're talking email delivers pretty much the highest return on investment every single time with every client I've ever worked with. It's just really, really difficult to actually get the C-suite to invest in email because they think it's that cheap channel. They think it's that channel that just delivers without any effort. And so
it is cheaper, right?
It is cheaper. Of course it is. That's why the return on investment's good. But they think that they can achieve. Well, okay, let's put it this way. Email is its own worst enemy because it delivers results even if you don't do a good job as an email marketer. Even if you don't have a high budget, you still can get decent results. Now, if you want to invest into it, make it more advanced, make it more personalized, make it, a really solid program, which is very much based on that one-to-one, benefit that email has with the consumers, then that's going to need resource, it's going to need budget, and that's when you'll start to see the incredibly high return on investment. But it's hard to convince the C-suite to do that because they were going, but it's already delivering the highest return on investment as is. Why should we give you more budget? We can't even comprehend how you can do better than you already are. And that's the problem with email.
Indeed. Return on investment wise, it's really good. But I like the way you said it. It's its own enemy because it delivers almost regardless, and it's hard to invest more effort and money in optimization. But on the other side, are there any industries where email doesn't deliver? Because, for example, we had a discussion with a customer, and they said my purchase frequency is so not often. How can I say seldom? Like durable goods, which you buy every 5 or 10 years, then it makes no sense to keep pushing email to my customer because he already made a purchase. He's not going to make a purchase in 5 years or 10 from now.
Right. And that is true, but that is the minority, but that is very true. And in that case, you still need to be in contact. You don't want to just sit back and fingers crossed, let's hope they remember you, right? Because 5 years is a long time. So you
Yep.
still need to be in their inbox, prompting them, reminding them that when they have that need, that you're the one to go to. Okay. So that they don't have to do a big, search, or maybe go to Google and get a different supplier. So you still want to be in the inbox, but you don't want to be, sending too many too frequently, because then that will just, upset them. Right?
Ignore it.
Yeah. So it's
And
about
yeah, yes, indeed. Now, let me give you a hypothetical challenge. You have 100 points or euro or units of time. How would you spend them between better copywriting, better setup for deliverability and a little bit on the technical side, and a better commercial offer? So what we're giving to that customer when we're sending an email. And don't
um,
give me 36, 36, 36.
I want to do 33, 33, 33. Okay. It is a bit, it's the chicken and the egg, right? Without the deliverability, you're not going to reach any inboxes. And so they're not going to see your wonderful copy and your amazing product offer. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
that is absolutely essential. And I'm working with a client at the moment, and that has been their case. But at the same time, we haven't been revising the offers or anything. They've got great offers, but we have been improving the copy. Now, again, that's what I'm saying, the chicken and the egg. So we have been, because they've had a deliverability problem, they haven't been getting into the inbox. And so we've been doing, aside from a lot of other things to do with data, we're using the Halo sending strategy, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. But one of those things is, because with deliverability, the ISPs still very much rely upon open rates. So that subject line is really, really crucial. So we are doing lots of virtual testing using that to make sure that we are getting the best, we're using the best subject line as possible. And that in combination with everything else really helps. So that's why I'm saying to you, it's a case of
I know if
get
it's
in the
easy, I wouldn't have asked. So
Exactly. You've got to get in their inbox. You've got to then get their attention. You've got to be nice and personalized. You've got to be persuasive. You've got to be, let them know why they needed the product. And then you've got to have a great deal. So that's where I'm coming with the 33, 33, 33. And I know it's an easy way to.
ah, it's a vanilla answer. Okay.
Exactly. But it's a true one,
Uh,
right?
it makes sense. It makes sense. I was hoping for a more polarized view. But you said something about holistic email. Tell me more about that.
Holistic email, or about the sending, the Halo sending strategy. What
The Halo sending. Yeah, what is Halo sending?
So the Halo sending strategy, it's something I use with all of my clients that need help with their deliverability. The Halo sending strategy is essentially, what it means is you break up your list. So within your list, you have anything between they've recently opened, and in some clients I will use login. So if they're a SaaS product or anything like that, then I will use login
Mhm.
as well. It just means that they're recent and they're familiar with the brand and they're more likely to action. So 0 to 30 days, and then 31 to 60 days, and then 61 to 90 days. Again, you need to work this out. It's not
Mhm.
as simple as what I'm saying here, but in principle, this is how it works out. And what you do is you send the first segment, which is the most recently active, which is the most likely to open the email first, and then shortly thereafter, like within 5 minutes, once it's finished sending, you send the next one. So, and then you send the next one, and then you send the next one. And how it looks to the ISP, because you're using the same subject
Yeah,
line,
yeah.
it looks like it's the one campaign. And it looks like you're getting lots of high
Nice.
opens, so it's a great campaign. So by the time you get to the 180 plus day, open,
Mm-hmm.
right, they're actually benefiting from the halo effect. So the halo effect is you and I go to school together, you're the popular person, I'm not so popular. But I start hanging with you, and what happens is the halo effect rubs off over me. So now people are wanting to hang with me because of me being with you, okay, you being my friend. So it's the same principle. So essentially, the unengaged segments are benefiting from the engaged segments. Now, it's only going to work if you um, have a fairly decent amount of recent openers, right? So not 60 days,
Indeed, indeed.
because if that's in the minority and the other ones are in the majority, you're not going to do it. So in that way, you'll have to ramp up. Yep. So
I
that you
see, I
always
see.
have the more recent ones in the in the majority as such. So I've just given you a whole heap of amazing content there. Because that's
This
what
is really good. I never thought of that, and it's so straightforward and smart. Thank you for sharing that. And on that note of having enough recently engaged people, I think that effort is not so high. So maybe it's just folklore, but I think it's around 2,000 people that are interested in your email, like opening and clicking, which triggers the ISP to say, this is a relevant email. So it might be not that hard to achieve 2,000 engaged people.
Yes, yes. I mean, I'm working the client I'm working with at the moment, they've got millions on their list, but they're still getting that, even though the was coming back that they're getting very, very bad, like almost 0% of deliverability, they still had the loyal, right? The regular users who
Yep.
are coming back, and they're the ones that we needed. They're the ones that basically helped us to get back with our foot in the door with Gmail and start to build it up. So within doing this, plus everything else that we've gone and done, right? And we have, within 9 weeks, we've gone from zero deliverability in Gmail to 100% deliverability in Gmail. And then with the other, so
Wow. How do you measure that?
using, so I use eData Source. eData Source is a deliverability monitoring tool. And what they do is
Could you
they
spell that or help me?
Sure. So it's just
E data?
data source, all one
Okay.
word. It's a product that's owned by
Ah,
Spark.
okay.
Yeah. And what
Okay,
they do
cool.
is they use panel data. So that panel data is basically people who have signed up for a product that they own to manage their inbox. And as part of the terms and conditions of using that tool for free,
Mhm.
they give eData Source and its tool, obviously people don't go into it, but its tool access to see where the brand's email landed. Did it go in the spam folder, or did it go into
Mhm.
the inbox? So
Yeah, or promotions. Yeah.
yeah.
This is good stuff. Let me ask you a little bit about subject lines, because you said about subject lines, and of course, as email marketers, we struggle a lot to find the perfect subject line and test and find and test and find. Give us some subject lines that you found maybe counterintuitive that worked, but you didn't think that they will work,
Um, okay, I am
and
always
maybe also the industry.
yeah. So I mean, there is a principle or a couple of principles that I follow. But having said that, I follow them in general, but then I always advocate that we test. And it's only when we test that we actually find out
Definitely.
it didn't work for that campaign or for that client or for that particular segment, right? And then we have to
Mhm.
understand each segment's going to be relating to subject lines differently. So if it's a segment that haven't yet purchased from you, they're just brand new to you, they don't know you as a brand, they've not experienced your product and so on, then a different subject line is more likely to to relate better to them or resonate better with them than those that are very loyal who buy from you regularly and all the rest of it. So we have to understand, that that's a very basic form of personalization, is changing the subject line in that way. But I've got a couple of little rules. So first of all, verb, front load a verb at the beginning of your subject line. So
Start with a verb.
a verb is an action word. Okay. So it could even be discover, or, but that's being overused at the moment. But what you're
Or
doing,
explore.
yes, exactly. So what we're doing here is we are, one, getting their attention because our eyes are drawn to those. They're exciting words, right? But also what happens is that we are directing them what to do. Now, people on the web actually look to us as the director of their journey. And they look to us to see what is it that you want us to do. That's why we have to do very, very explicit and powerful call to actions. Because if they're struggling and they don't know, they're looking for you for direction. So the visual hierarchy, all of that really makes a difference to their experience and to their journey. So one, it's giving them direction as to what to do. The next thing that we want to do is we want to be using, I like to use different motivations. I like to test different motivations. But there's also a basic principle which my friend created, and it's called the curve rule. So curve is C for curiosity, U for urgency, R for relevance, V for value, and E for emotion. If you use any 2 to 3 of those,
Nice.
then you're more likely to get attention. And truly it works. It really, really does. And then the third one is I look at what it is that what's our objective for the email? Is our objective to just get open? So when we're dealing with a client for deliverability, with deliverability problems, our objective, we actually say, yeah, well, normally our objective is to get conversions. But in this particular case, we're really battling just getting into the inbox. So we want to increase our open rates so that we can, please the ISPs. So what we're going to do is we're going to shorten our subject lines. Ideally, if you can get a combination, a nice little balance between the 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 I'm going to say it's short and long. Okay, so short, because I've been asked this question for many, many years, almost as many years as I've been in email, right? 26 years. Should the subject line be short or should it be long? But essentially, what you're doing there is you're asking the wrong question. The subject line should either be generic or specific. Now, generic is innately short. It's not always the case, but generally it will be short. More specific is longer in length, right? Because the more specific you are, the more characters you're going to
You need
need.
more words, basically.
Exactly. So, and that's what we're doing. So, and I have found through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tests that the more generic the subject line, i.e., the shorter it is, the more likely you're going to get increased open rates. The longer the subject line is, the more specific it is, the more likely you're going to get the conversions, the click-throughs and conversions. Now, there is logic to this. So the logic is based on, if I say to you, sail on today, 40% off, generic. It's very powerful. It's great. You're going to get lots of people opening. And then they go and read and they go, oh, it's only on jeans. I really want a top. Because we didn't specify that it was
Yeah.
for jeans. We're only talking about, right? And they're going, so they've opened, but they haven't gone and clicked and converted because they don't want jeans. They've got enough jeans. They're actually looking for a top or a dress.
It's like clickbait in the end. We're just saying something sexy to get the click, which is the open.
Right, exactly. And that's often, and you can shoot yourself in the foot. Yes, you get increased open rates, but I found that you actually get reduced. You get reduced click-throughs. And we've actually just done this
Yep.
test. It's really, really interesting. Okay, so that wasn't our motivation. That wasn't our hypothesis for this particular test that we did. It was a test we ran for ourselves for an event that we ran. And we were testing two motivations: curiosity versus emotion. Versus loss aversion. So curiosity versus loss aversion.
Mhm.
We found the loss aversion, and we ran it 3 times because it was a series for one event. We ran 3 emails supporting that event. So all using the same hypothesis. We ran it. All three. Well, because our success metric was based on clicks, not open rates. And we ended up getting 2 out of 3, one with curiosity. However, loss aversion won
Mhm.
with open rates, but they had lower click-throughs. So we
Mhm.
had increased opens, but lower click-throughs, whereas the curiosity had lower opens, but increased click-throughs. And so we went with that one because that's our success metric, right? But it was interesting because this is what I see all the time. You can go, so in this case, it was loss aversion versus curiosity, but it also works with I see it all the time with the specific versus the generic as well. And it just means that,
Makes sense. Makes
yeah,
sense.
something's got their attention, they open, but it's not relevant to them, it's not what they want, and they don't follow through.
Let me follow up with a bit more technical questions. So, first one, it's out of curiosity, and it's what is your usual share of email providers in a list? Like, for example, we have a lot of 40% Yahoo, 40% Gmail, and the rest spread. This is my first question, and it's more for curiosity, I admit. But second is deeper. Can you fix a reputation, a bad reputation of a customer, a bad reputation with Gmail or with Yahoo? And if you can, how?
Sure. Okay. So with the majority of my clients that I am working with, it's anything north of 60% is Gmail.
Mhm.
So it's quite a lot. Um, the Yahoo therefore also adds to it. So Yahoo and Gmail together are quite a large. Outlook is becoming less and less important. So that when it comes down to it, if there's a deliverability problem between Gmail and Outlook, Outlook is our secondary one. And often the way it works with them is that sometimes the things that you do to improve Gmail deliverability actually has an adverse effect with Outlook, or sometimes what you do for Outlook
Really?
it has no effect with Gmail. But that's like more anecdotal information. I wouldn't sort of
Mm.
say that's hard and fast how it is. It's just what I observe. I sort of go, okay, well, that worked really well with
Mhm.
Gmail, but it did nothing for Outlook, or it's actually
Mhm.
harmed it. But we work with lots of different clients in different sectors and all the rest of it. Now, as far as improving reputations, absolutely. So, mapping back to this client that I've just been working with recently, they had problems with their transactional IP and domain as well.
Mhm.
And what happened was they were on. It wasn't too bad for the transactional. It was medium domain reputation and medium IP range reputation. Okay, this is through Google
Mhm.
Postmaster. And so I'm going through doing my audit, trying to find out why, what's the story, because that's very unusual for transactional, right? And then I found out that what they were doing, and this is also very unusual, and this is why I was able to find out really quickly what it was. They had double opt-in because they're a SaaS provider, but they have B2C and B2B audience. So and that's why they've got millions in their database. And what they were doing is they put it implemented as they should with that particular, because you're giving them, they've got a 30-day free trial. So they do
Mhm.
a double opt-in, right? Which I think makes sense. And certainly given the volume of emails that they send, definitely. So anyhow, so they had a double opt-in in place, and what was happening was that the first email that was being sent of the welcome email was being sent from the transactional domain and transactional IP address, and it was being sent before they had actually confirmed the double opt-in.
Uh-huh.
So 100 people
Mm-hmm.
sign up, 40 people double opt in, but 100 people would get the first welcome email. And there's something dodgy happening because I don't think they all signed up. They would get a lot of complaints, a lot of spam complaints, a lot of emails saying, I didn't sign up for this, and all the rest of it. Okay, so there's something
Mm-hmm.
happening. So I said, well, we need to hold off from sending that first email until after they have confirmed. And only once they've confirmed, you send it to them. Yep. So that's what they did. And then within 2-3 weeks, the domain went first. The domain went up to high. And then I said, give it
Ah,
another week,
quite
10
fast.
days, and the IPs will follow through, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what happens. So I find the domain tends to go improve first, and then the IPs will follow. So, and that's what happened. And then now we're still working on their marketing ones, but it's the same. It's the same thing. So in that case, though, it's a low domain, and um, it's a low IP reputation. But we have started getting deliverability, like 100% deliverability, like very good deliverability. So in time, the
Mm-hmm.
domain will happen. And with Gmail, it really is a case of do everything that you possibly can. And like we are doing a ramp up again. And we went right back to scratch. We did everything because it was quite a severe case. Using the Halo sending strategy, we changed a few things within the infrastructure and everything. And I am sure within the next week or 2 weeks, we're going to see the domain improve and then the IP reputation improve.
Sounds
So it can be
sounds
done.
great.
Yeah.
We are running a little bit out of time, and I want to ask my final question, and that is, give us three topics or ideas or areas where you find problems when you audit an email account, an email customer. Where are the big problems which are not usually seen by the regular marketers, let's say?
Right. I wish I had that sort of silver bullet and just say, okay, these are your main three areas that you need to look at because they're the majority. Every single audit we do is different. Every single brand is different. Every single
Clearly.
audience is different, and all the rest of it. Sometimes it will be really, really obscure things. Like one time we found that they actually had two. They were on Shopify, but they're also using Klaviyo, and they had two card abandonment emails being sent out, one from Shopify and one from Klaviyo, and they were
Hmm.
totally, you know, unaware of that. So we were able to go in and then that helped their deliverability because they were getting lots of complaints because of that, right? Because the Shopify was going first and then the Klaviyo one was going second, so they were having problems. So and the thing with the deliverability, there's always that chain reaction. Um, Copy is one big thing that we tend to work very hard on with our clients as well. We find that many brands, certainly e-commerce brands, think that the visuals can just sell everything, so that they're not actually being looking at persuasion. They're not, understanding the psychology of email. They're not taking any care to actually be creating applicable and effective call to actions. They just go, read more, discover more, whatever, shop now. Shop now is the most
By
popular
now.
one. Exactly, right? Whereas, I don't actually want to buy now. I wouldn't mind exploring. I wouldn't mind having a look, but,
Yeah.
Um, so, working on and understanding that email is a push channel, so we're at a different level of intent than someone who actually goes to that shop and says, I want to buy a cardigan, or a pair of jeans or something like this. So we have to understand that. So copy testing, A/B testing. It's deplorable, really. Anyone that does do A/B testing will do a very basic program, and then basically all they ever do is test the subject lines, which is better than nothing. But most of them don't. They're one-off tests, they're ad hoc tests. They don't use a hypothesis. The problem with, and I know we've got to finish up, so I could rant about this for 2 hours. But the problem with email marketing is that, in A/B testing, is that we are not taught to test correctly. And so therefore we're taught by the systems, and the systems aren't teaching us to do it correctly. So we do it wrongly. And then what happens is, because we don't get the results we're wanting to get, i.e., they're not going to be statistically significant, they don't make any difference in our lives at all, then
How
what
would you
happens is
recommend? Sorry for interrupting.
yes.
Sorry for interrupting. How would you recommend? 10% variant A, 10% variant B, and 80% the rest would be a reasonable approach?
No. So the way I do testing is completely different. So we've created the holistic testing methodology, and basically, if you're doing it on open rates, okay, that's fine, because you'll get a certain amount of open rates, and you'll get more open rates than you do. It's a funnel: open rates, click rates, conversions. Okay. So to be able to base it on a more meaningful metric, i.e., click-throughs or conversions, you have to wait a period of time, and you can't do a test like that. So we do 50-50, and then we go and find out, when do we get our optimum conversions, right? There's always going to be that tipping point, and then the conversions start to drop off. And you'll always have a long tail in your conversions, right? So you send a campaign on day 1, and day 45, you'll get your last conversion. So I'm not saying wait 45
Yeah,
days. I'm saying, pick a time and then stick that. Normally like 1 week to possibly even 2 weeks, depends on what it is, but definitely 1 week. And that's when you say, okay, we're going to call the results now, and we're basing it on the click-throughs, and then we're making our decision, because we want to make informed decisions. We're not just testing for
okay,
that lift. We're testing to make learning, so that we can not only, we can find out what to do in the future, rather than just
I
testing
see.
on that uplift. Does that make
So
sense?
you're not necessarily testing for that campaign, but for getting the learning for the next campaigns.
Exactly. I
Kath,
mean, you
it's
will
been a
still be.
pleasure having you here. Just
It's
need to wrap up now. Could you please, yeah, it's could you please share with our audience where they can reach out to you?
Sure, you can go to holisticemailmarketing.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, just under, so it's LinkedIn / whatever it is. What is it? I don't know.
Your name, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
/ Kath Pay. It's just Kath Pay. I've got an
yeah.
unusual name. It's quite a unique name, so just search for me. Where else can you find me? I'm kind of like everywhere. So, but we've got a fantastic
Thank you very
newsletter. We
much.
twice a month. Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much for joining us. Take care. Bye bye.